But your father stays there in the country and never comes to town. His bedding is not glossy rugs and blankets on a bedstead, but in winter he sleeps among the hinds in the house in the dust beside the fire and wears poor clothes. When summer comes and blooming autumn, he lies on the ground anywhere about the slope of his vineyard on a heap of fallen leaves. There he lies, sorrowing and will not be comforted, longing for your return. Old age weighs heavy upon him. And this is how I sickened and died. The archeress did not shoot me in my own house with some gentle shafts, but never missed. It was no disease that made me pine away. But I missed you so much in your clever way, in your gay merry ways, and life was sweet no longer, so I died. When I heard this, I longed to throw my arms round her neck. 3 times I tried to embrace the ghost. 3 times it slipped through my hands like a shadow or a dream. A sharp pang pierced my heart, and I cried out straight from my heart to hers. Dear mother, why don't you stay with me when I long to embrace you? Let us relieve our hearts and have a good cry in each other's arms. Are you only a phantom which awful Persephone has sent to make me more unhappy than ever? My mother answered, Alas, alas, my child, most luckless creature on the face of the earth. Persephone is not deceiving you. She is the daughter of Zeus. But this is only what happens to mortals when one of us dies. As soon as the spirit leaves the white bones, the sinews no longer hold flesh and bones together. The blazing fire consumes them all, but the soul flits away, fluttering like a dream. Make haste back to the light, but do not forget all this. Tell it to your wife by and by. As we were talking together, a crowd of women came up, sent by awful Persephone, wives and daughters of great men. They gathered around about the red blood, and I wondered how I should question them. This seemed to be the best plan. I drew my sword and kept off the crowd of ghosts, and then I let them form in a long line and come up one by one. Each one declared her lineage. Then I questioned them all. Trio came first, that noble dame. She said she was daughter of Salmoneus and wife of Cretheus Ioledes, but she was in love with Enethius, the river god, most beautiful of all the rivers that flow on the earth, and she used to frequent the banks of this river. Poseidon Earthshaker took on him the shape of this river god and lay with her on the mouth of the eddying stream. A dark purple wave made an arch over them, like a mountain cave, to shelter the god and the mortal woman. He loosed her maiden girdle and made her fall into a deep sleep. When their love was fulfilled, he took her by the hand and said, A blessing on your love, my dearest. When the year has rolled round, you shall bring forth glorious children, for a god's embrace is not barren. Nurse the boys and rear them with loving care. And now, return to your home, keep it to yourself and say nothing, but know that I am Poseidon Earthshaker. Then he dived into the billows of the deep. She conceived and brought forth Peleus and Neleus, who both became mighty servants of Zeus. Peleus dwelt in the broad spaces of Iolcos, rich in countless flocks of sheep, the other in sandy Pylos. She bore other sons as queen of King Cretheus, Izon and Pharis and Amethaon, so famous with chariot and horses. Next to her I saw Antiope, the daughter of Asopos, who could boast that she had slept in the arms of Zeus, and she bore 2 boys, Antheon and Zethos. Those 2 first founded the stronghold of Thebes, with its 7 gates, and fortified it, since without walls and towers they could not live in spacious Thebes, mighty though they were. After her I saw Alcmene, the wife of Amphitryon, who brought forth Heracles, an indomitable lion heart, when she had lain in the arms of mighty Zeus, and the daughter of proud Creon, Megara, who became the wife of Amphitryon's son, the hero whom no labor could weary. I saw the mother of Oedipus, fair Epicaste, who did a monstrous thing in the innocence of her heart, for she married her own son, and he had slain his own father first. But the gods kept it from people's knowledge for a time, so he continued to be king in his lovely Thebes, but full of misery himself by the gods' cruel will, and she went down to the strong prison of Hades, the warder of the gates. Her grief was too great for her, and she hanged herself from a lofty roof beam, but she left him misery enough, and to spare, which the avenging spirit of his mother brought to pass. And I saw beautiful Chloris, whom Neleus married for her beauty, bringing magnificent gifts. She was the youngest daughter of Amphion Isidaeus, the powerful king of Minion, or Tromenos. She thus became queen of Pylos and bore him glorious sons, Nestor and Chromios, and lordly Periclymenos. Besides these, she was the mother of buxom Pero, the admiration of all beholders, wooed by every man within reach. But Neleus would give her to no man unless he would carry off the cows of Iphicles from Phylace, a dangerous task. Iphicles was a mighty man. The cows were all guarded, crumple-horned, broad-browed beauties. A certain admirable seer promised to drive them off all by himself, but hard fate caught him fast. There were the savage herdsmen in prison walls. Days and months went by, the year rolled round again, and the seasons came back to their places, and then King Iphicles let him go after he had uttered his oracles, so the will of Zeus came to pass. I saw Leda also, the wife of Tyndareus, who brought him 2 stout-hearted sons, Castor the horsemaster, and Polydeuces the great boxer. These 2 are both buried in Mother Earth, and both alive. Even deep in the earth they have a special privilege from Zeus, one day living and the next day dead, so they have the god's own privilege. After her I saw Iphimedia, the wife of Aeolus, who could say she had lain with Poseidon. She bore him 2 sons, but they had only a short time to live. These were the famous Otos and Ephialtes, the biggest creatures the fruitful earth ever bred, and the most handsome next after famous Orion. At 9 years old, they were 9 cubits across the chest and 9 fathoms high. They threatened to set up a horrible civil war against the immortals in Olympus. Their plan was to pile Ossa upon Olympus, and Pelion with its forests upon Ossa, and so to climb into heaven. Indeed, they would have done it if they had lived to grow up, but they were killed by Apollo, the son of Zeus and Leto, before the down began to grow under their temples and the hair upon their chins. I saw Phaedra and Prosis, and fair Ariadne, the daughter of a grim-hearted Minos, whom Theseus carried off from Crete. He was taking her to Athenian soil, but he had no joy of her, for Artemis slew her first in the island of Dia, because Dionysos told tales. Mera, too, I saw, in Clymene, an accursed Ephrophile, who accepted gold as the price of her own husband. I will not say the name, all I saw, wives or daughters of heroes, or night would end before I had done. It is time to sleep now, either here or on board the ship, and tomorrow, please God, you will arrange for my homeward voyage.